Frank Leutz, Greg Buckley, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you, Carm. Glad to be here.
Carm.
We are doing something, so interesting. We're going to do a little video thing with a brand new video service. This is our first time. I don't even know how it works, but we're trying this thing. We're recording. I believe I'm recording. Isn't that a great thing?
That's beautiful.
I invited you guys out for a reason. You guys are really on the cutting edge of what's going on with social media and how you're promoting your own businesses and bringing a lot of value to your customers, to anybody who listens. I mean, Frank, I learned so much about the radiator the other day and stop leak. And so if I was a normal,
a little too much, right?
Yeah. Wow. I have to tell you, that was some pretty. It reminded me of my arteries.
Wow.
I live in Buckley.
Gosh.
Chicken wings, you know the story.
Yep, exactly.
That's it.
And so anyway, the reason you're here, you've been on the podcast before, Frank, in episode 25. Greg, my God, episode 19, 54, 60, and 100.
I'm a regular.
Just like he is on your radio show.
Hey, man, that's a great thing, man. That's a fun time, I'll tell you.
Love it.
French Nation.
So did you guys ever think that your social media, your Facebook Live stuff, your YouTube efforts in radio and TV, Frank and Greg, would ever be such a big part of your marketing strategy?
I did. I believed it 100%. That's why I went after it back in 2008 and started it. It's just a matter of looking at where media is going and how easy it was to produce the content to get it out there. But it's actually, gosh, what can I say? It was a little bit of a vision. You had to understand where technology was going, and then of course you bring your own experiences in there. You've always been technically oriented, and you're not afraid to dabble with it. Put the two together and go for it.
Frank,
good.
You're not afraid to dabble.
Well, what it is I absolutely, but we have to be careful, right? Because it's the shiny new object syndrome. This is a big problem. So it's okay to I think we're all peddling our businesses, and we can't have too much of one thing. We can't be too much into social media, because then we're not into our local chamber meetings and things like that. But I think what I admire about Greg and sort of how we've collaborated over the last year or so is, we've gone into some uncharted territory that is still practical for us to meet our clients in their digital DNA eyeballs, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
To answer your question, Carm, I'll be quite frank with you. Many years ago, heck no, I was a direct mail only kind of guy. I mean, I said, hey, branding is like, I'm not Coca-Cola. I can't afford that. So we did transition from meeting people in their mailboxes to meeting them visually where they were at, whether it be on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and we'll talk more about that. But to answer your question, maybe not like Greg. Greg was back in 1992. Greg said, I'm going to do videos.
Right.
Essentially, I would have to compliment what he says and really tell you that we've been at it a solid 3 years, and really just trying to dial it in. So we're not, look, I've said this in the past, we cannot fall in love with vanity.
Right.
Our efforts have to pay off, and we'll talk more about that.
Let me interrupt you by saying I worked for a CEO once who said, sales is vanity, profit is sanity. And just reminded me of that. And you're right. You could spend an awful lot of money on vanity, but at the end of the day, Frank, and you and I have talked about this, there's just got to be a return there. Now, how do you measure the return in profit dollars? Do you measure return in FaceTime with customers, in referrals?
Yeah, I've got some exciting things. And through my Facebook feed, I know Greg does a really good job with the rest of the industry. There's two things that are really working for us right now. We talked about live streaming. That is here, people. It's going to continue to blow up. But live streaming is really great when you can hit your local of commerces. We have Living Chandlers, a Facebook page. They get over 500 comments, a very heavy engaged page. And so when we go on there and do our car care tips, and give a little character to the culture of our garage and give something away, it's huge. We get a huge return on that immediately. I've got scheduled appointments from that, just from yesterday's live stream. The second thing that's huge for us right now is you want to talk about increasing your open rate to emails. You can do a live stream or a recorded video. The idea is you've got to repurpose that.
Right.
Tell your story on the email, and we're experiencing about a 22% open engagement, which is, for us, that's good. I mean,
and that's phenomenal. That's 22% is like really, really good. Most are between 10 and 13.
Yeah, it's double the rate.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we were. In fact, I almost gave up on emails. I told my guy, "Can we send smoke signals? Can we do something else?"
Well, I think you bring up a great point, Frank, and really, it's what we try to. And instructing even today, the words out of my mouth are, we want to say always be marketing, but really it's, we always want to be communicating and figuring out, well, how do I need to reach you? What do I need to do? Where do I need to be? And you can't be everywhere. It's not something like you can't be ubiquitous, meaning that if you're Instagram or your Twitter or whatever the case might be, wherever you're at, you need to find an audience first, find your roots, and then develop it, build your herd, whatever it is, and make sure that you know that in and out, and then you can proceed and go elsewhere.
I just want to mention to the industry that, Greg, you do a class probably every 3 weeks.
It's about once a month at ATI.
Once a month at ATI called ABC.
It's called Always Be Marketing.
Yeah.
I'd like to be called Always Be Communicating, because we've gone away from, marketing in a sense, but it's communicating.
And I've actually seen Greg broadcast Facebook Live to his class, teaching many of the people that are in your class how to do it, and they're watching it on the screen. And
it's a playground. I just love the technology that ATI allows me to use. It's just, like I said, it's my Disney World.
One of the reasons that we're doing this podcast is to actually share both of your passions for it. Greg, you as a teacher and a strict user, and Frank, you're off the charts, and we want to get to that in a minute. But what I wanted to ask, Greg, when the students leave the class and you really help them break the ice, Facebook Live, sometimes it's really tough to get their first one done, right, guys?
Yeah.
And I'm doing it every Friday at 2 p.m. And my first one was, and I'm okay in front of a mic, but my first one was, okay.
Yeah.
My stomachs were butterflying a little bit. I wasn't sure how it was going to work, and obviously technology is a boom. We had a half hour just to get ourselves connected.
Yeah.
My point is what's the follow through? What are the guys saying after they leave the class?
Well, after the words, I mean, I'm glad and I'm humbled, but I get a lot of kudos about giving them the opportunity to, express themselves in ways they never could before. And the biggest thing that we talk about is losing your inhibitions. And facing the fact that, look, okay, you are the expert. You got to build them up a little bit, and you have to get them to say, I look at myself in the mirror. I got to look at the camera. I got to be able to play with it. I have to be able to present myself. And the breakdown is, I said, if I was your client in front of the counter, would you turn your back on me to talk to me? And they go, no. Well, then it's just think of that bridge that you're crossing. Now you're digitizing that process, that scenario at the counter. You're just making it virtual. Be cool, calm, speak what you're doing. I'll tell you what, since we're going to be recording this, a gentleman by the name of Jeff Buckley, now no relation to me, but Frank and I, we can see him progressing.
Oh, amazing.
And he is really starting to deliver good old-fashioned content. I love it. He's got some frequency issues a little bit, and he's new, so he wants to get in and get going all the time. But I'll tell you, his content, the way he presents himself, it's a small town garage. I just see really good things with what Jeff is doing. It's really great. So
I see a potential Midlothian mayor.
Yes, you do.
You're right.
I
do. Greg, you mentioned Jeff Buckley, and I was just going to do the same. Jeff is in his garage, in his element, who he is, telling his story with a wonderful Southern Texas accent. That is amazing, and he's connecting with people.
Yes.
And that's what it's about. It's like, sometimes it's like our advertising. We want to go over the top. We want to do all these things we think are going to work. And the fact is, you know what? People just want to hear your story. They want to see who you are and get a little tidbits. We're already doing this, right? Already doing this. So Jeff Buckley is an incredible example of someone who is just slowly chiseling it out. And kudos to Jeff Buckley.
Jeff Buckley was on the podcast, got his own episode. His number escapes me. Go to the website, click on the search bar.
My father's garage.
Yeah, just type in Jeff Buckley and it'll come up. And what's so amazing about Jeff is he was on that Wagner commercial with Mike Rowe. And I searched him out. No matter if my sponsor was Federal Mogul or not, they had nothing to do with it. I searched him out. I picked up the phone. I called him. And as I'm doing the research on his company, I said, so, okay, how many techs do you have? How many bays? And he goes, just one tech. That would be me.
Yeah.
And I said, wait a minute. I didn't hear you right. Knock, knock, knock. Tell me again. He's a one-person shop.
Yeah.
He's amazing operator. He's finding the time of the day. And his wife and him work like in tandem. It's amazing.
It's a beautiful thing. I mean, you look at the environment when he has his videos. He's got the garage. He's got all the like antique signs over the walls. I mean, it's beautiful. Yeah. It's a beautiful situation.
And Frank, he's doing the things that you're doing too. He's reaching out into his community.
Well, I'll be quite frank with you. The inspiration here for me with Mr. Jeff Buckley is we all started somewhere as the one man, one gal operation. He makes you feel good about where we come from. And look, some of us are multi-store outlets and big retail establishments. There's nothing wrong with that. But man, we're getting back to the basics of cooking in the kitchen. And Jeff does an amazing job there.
And you know what? He had a big operation, and he's downsized.
Yeah, I'm sure.
He's loving it, and he's doing great for his customers. Now, Frank, I wanted to ask you a question. 5 minutes ago, you said you're repurposing through email, and your emails are open 22%. Can you tell our listeners exactly how you're repurposing?
Yeah, so our email has a 3-point message. The first point is sort of the verbal, how we're doing, what we've got coming up, sort of the culture of the garage. The second point is going to be a very intense value proposition. In other words, we've been doing the $50, hey, and remember, our community that gets this email, these are our VIP loyalties, right? These are the people that get what we're dispensing. They get the scheduled appointments. They understand how we do business to serve them the best way we can. And so they'll get the $50 off anything they want to spend on. And the third of that is, by the way, here's a Nissan Murano that came in, and this is kind of how we go through, our camshaft sensors that were bad. But what's in it for them, this is going to cause a tip and hesitation. And that's the key with the video. Look, we're not, with all due respect to Humble Mechanic and Eric the Car Guy and all these guys out there doing A to Z how-to, we're not necessarily how-to. In fact, Jeff Buckley, I think it was this morning, he says, well, I'm not a how-to.
But you're a why. You're a why. Why?
But we have to think about, in our videos, we really have to say, okay, let's tone it down and think about what's in it for Miss Jones. What's in it for Mr. Smith? And so now we're talking about their symptom, that anxiety-ridden, well, my car started and it stalled in the morning. Why? So, this is a trigger to get them thinking and also keeping us front and center. We know that we've got to touch folks at least 7 times a year. This is another way to do it. So that's that 3-prong email that we're doing. So,
Greg, what are you doing to repurpose your stuff?
Pretty much just what Frank was saying. Everything that you create can be repurposed. You can download the video off of your live event or anything from YouTube that you're creating, and you can put it in another situation, like with email. Yeah, okay, so he's describing a Nissan. But then you can put on there, hey, if you know anybody with a Nissan with this kind of problem, maybe you can share it with them. So you put a share tag on it, and you can let it loose. So you let your community help you build up your business. It's in print. It's for your newsletters. One of the things that we do is from our DVI situation, when you talk about repurposing, every picture that's taken in the shop, and we went over this in class, but every picture that's taken at Buckley shop from every iPad for every inspection goes up to a cloud-based solution. All right, I'll use iCloud. What happens is I can come home here at night, and then every day I can make a story out of that. And I can take a third-party app like Magisto, or we have Ripple, and we'll go ahead and just slice and dice. And before you know it, we've got a nice little 30, 40-second spot that we can go again and put back on and recycle it through and get a whole new audience.
But the message is what?
The message is, let's say that I have a Mercedes with a clogged DGR. So the title can be Clogged Mercedes, or Frank's great at putting out some really wacky headers, but grab your attention. Get Frank.
I want to just share with you guys, because you really can, these are thumbnails that we're talking about. Yes. I want to show folks, there is, real quick, on your smartphones, you can download Pronto, and maybe we can give a link after this. And it's a quick app that you can download. And what it does is it'll take your picture, and you can add your verbiage, and you want to just keep it clean. I think thumbnails are important via social media, but again, we got to remember who we're talking to. You know, if we're talking to our regulars, they already know us. We don't need a flashy thumbnail. But if you're out, let's say on Instagram or Twitter, and you sort of want to gain more ground in your community, thumbnails are really good. You know, you can go nuts. I haven't gone nuts yet, but Photoshop is Photoshop is great, but that's a lot of time. I think Magisto is great. I'm using Final Cut Pro. I'm not going to recommend it. There was a good 6-month learning curve for me.
Yeah, it's a big program.
Magisto is really great to do some quick slicing and dicing. Absolutely.
Yeah. Is Facebook where it's at?
I truly believe that, you know, in class today I even said it, that if I had to start somewhere, it would be in Facebook. You know, we're big on YouTube. We like what YouTube brings, but there's a different purpose, and this is where you have to see things and where I see it going. YouTube is for search. It's for general population. It's very big. It's worldwide. And my statistics, I can have 1.2 million views currently, 700 some odd subscribers. But when I break it down into finding out who's within my 5-mile radius, that percentage goes really way down, and rightfully so. So, you know, YouTube is great for searching, though. I mean, it's the #2 search engine in the world. So, granted, you're going to put some, you're going to get, well, I know, you're shaking your head.
Well, Greg, YouTube is awesome, but I think it's really important. We've got a lot of garage owners, operators on here. You can get lost in the soup to nuts with YouTube.
You can. You really can.
Greg is absolutely spot on. You might as well, if you've got a video, get that on YouTube. Study a bit about the tags. Greg, you're absolutely right. Socially content relevant. YouTube and Google play together. They hang out.
They do.
But I think the real world immediate ROI really for that is that, you know, you're going to repurpose that, whether it be in an email, or perhaps you're going to do, you know, you may hit one of your chamber pages and say, hey, I've recorded this video, and there you are. I'd like to know who makes Facebook work. I'm struggling right now with Facebook. Greg, I need to come to your class.
Well, there you go. I mean, I like I said, with Facebook and doing what it's doing, you can share, you can push, you can do a lot with the elements that Facebook gives you, and you can do it with your phone right here. So uploading and tagging. And what's important to understand is Facebook purchased a algorithm called Atlas about maybe 4 years ago. And Atlas is pretty potent. They're just starting to introduce it now to where it's a big search engine. It really is. So Facebook, from a search perspective, you can start searching for parts now. You can go to your Google Chrome browser and put Facebook in, and then all of a sudden you'll see a little blue bar that says Facebook. That means you're searching inside Facebook. You're not searching Google, you're searching Facebook.
You mentioned a very good point. I think one of the early mistakes that I made, and of course we still kick around the mistakes and it's all good, but one of the early mistakes was not really catching on to how vital and important it is within your content to really respectfully, you don't want to get black-hatted, but attack the parts in your search optimization and how your content. And videos should really be around talking and discussing. If you look at some of the YouTubers, I wouldn't call them rock stars, but YouTubers that are, I mean, they're not gamers, they're not doing cosmetic videos,
right.
you know, those are Subs Plus, but they're really talking about, okay, hey, this water pump is an OE Denso, and this water pump, perhaps maybe let's look at Dorman. We're not going to bash them, but now we're really creating that language of parts, and so that helps in the search. And Greg, you bring that up. It's a very, very good point.
But does that help? But does that help in the DIFM marketplace? It probably does.
It will, because I want to know as a consumer. I'm saying,
what's the best answer? What's the best answer?
Coolant leak. Water pump. And we know how it goes. Look, some of our people, and I hate to use the word millennials, but let's just say the 30-somethings, they may research, and they're going to research what they think it is, right? Radiator leaking Nissan. They're not going to say, I have a leak. Most of them are going to, oh, my radiator's leaking. They're going to start looking, and all it takes, they may look and research cost of parts, but the minute they see Greg or Jeff Buckley or some of the others out there doing really good video content, they're going to say, you know what? This guy gave me some good information. I think it's probably going to be worth my while. This looks like a big job, something I'm going to take it down to this guy. And we've seen that.
Yes, it's come true. I mean, absolutely. There's no question. And that's some of the examples that I give on training. I have a whole 2 or 3 slides where I've recorded the video. The gentleman has said, I've seen your YouTube video. I like what I see. I'm looking for a new mechanic, and $4,000 later, he's satisfied. I mean, it comes right down the funnel. There's no question. And we're starting to see it more through Facebook as they start giving more tools to, again, stay connected. And, you know, it's not hard to do it. It's just getting you to get that first step out, that first couple of posts, learning how to share here and there.
Guys, it's changing every day, all the time.
Well, you know what?
Methods, ideas, shortcuts.
Well, let me explain real quick the effectiveness of digital marketing, and and I say it from it's communication. When I started all this back in 99 or 2000, I was really kind of looking for different ways to get new business. I mean, our economy was lacking. The area I was in was slowly deteriorating. I had to get more business. I said, I want the bank's business. Banks were coming in, credit card banks, boom, a lot of people. I'd go down to my old neighborhood where they were revitalizing the place, and I would see 3,000-4,000 cars parked there, sitting there waiting. I'm going, you know what? This is like Jesse James. Where do you get the money? At the bank. Where do you find the cars in the parking lot? Go for it. So I went to the chamber meeting. I stood up, got the gig. I was the only one in there. And I knew that I could be effective with just email, because that's all we had was just email. Well, sure enough, I built the business in one tower. All of a sudden, I write an email post about how we had to extract a family of deceased rodents from the HVAC system in this Mazda.
You said that so respectfully.
I did, didn't I?
Family of deceased rodents. I love the way you put that.
I didn't want to gross everybody out. He said, I told you, rats out of this.
Dead rats.
But this is what happened. So this story, this email, and again, we didn't have constant contact. We didn't have MailChimp, nothing like that. I had a list, put the list out. What happened? Before you know it, that email went viral to a friends who were working in another bank tower across the way. What did that lead to? It led to another contract for a concierge business on this other bank. And I thought, that's the spark. I said, I knew it would work. It did work. I'm sold.
Guerrilla marketing.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's proof of concept. So from that point on, I dedicated myself to where digital can go. And then I was, you keep up on it. But now we're at the point, and I say this respectfully, we're kind of like at a golden era for us putting back the element of community, our personalized service, and I am so excited. Carmen, every interview I've done with you, I've said this is the best time to be in small business.
Well, look at you. You have just sent. I've got a million things I want to say. I'm not sure we're running out of time.
Don't get me going.
But I want you to hold a thought right up here, Greg, and we're going to come back to it. Advanced class. You know, my God, I mean, you're the perfect guy to teach us small business people, 4 or 5 little features that are staring us in the eyes every day, but we don't know how to push the button or what's behind that door. Frank, I got to get to you because Greg mentions community. You are all
He's
about
huge.
Community.
Huge.
And I need to share that, the oil changes for the teachers. Help the audience know what you're doing.
Well, I would just tell you, go back. I have to on a regular basis. I go back. I started my first garage in 1995. I go back to the very feeling of opening the garage bay myself every morning. No matter where we're at in the success through some failures of our business, go back to the root of that feeling. Because guess what that's going to do? It'll keep you humble and connected always back into your community. So for me, I have a marketing calendar that's a year out. Every month there's moving pieces. I do have a publicist. I think a publicist is an easy way for a small business to connect with the media, both print, visual. So it gives us the opportunity to get our message spread. I do a lot of work within the community. I just can't list the things. I'm more than happy to share a marketing calendar. I think the listeners and the viewers really, if I can give you some meat and potatoes, just reach out to me. I want to share as much as I can. You have a business. Tell your story. Get out there with people. And a lot of times the last part of your story is, I fix cars really well.
Yeah.
Sometimes that, listen, sometimes that is like the last thing that we do, right? So people are people. People want the people. There are so many great examples in our industry of a lot of other garage owners doing it right. And help me out, Carm. We had, I ran with these folks with the Bottom Line Impact Groups many years ago. Jeff out of Minnesota just got the national award for the Better Business Bureau Ethics Award. Yeah. And forgive me for not remembering the full name. Anyway, these are things that are elements of all of what's in his soup, right?
Yeah.
And soup just tasted so good.
Right. And
people recognize that. And I think even if you're a small business, there are little things that you can do that don't cost a lot of money. The car clinics that you do, you need to record these car clinics because that becomes then a visual promotional piece for you in the future. So there's just so much going on, and I do stay active, but I think after this, I'm headed to Mexico here in about an hour. I need a break.
Wait a minute. Do you got a spare seat there?
Yeah, come on over, buddy.
I'm really moved by both of your passion and how hard you work in our industry and your use of digital media. At the end of the day, you guys found a way to purpose, if you will, this in your businesses. There's going to be a lot of people listening to this and saying, I got a great business. I don't need to do that stuff. I'll put a picture of my dog out occasionally. Is it important? And by the way, we only have 7 minutes and 39 seconds left. Mm-hmm. Sorry about the timeline. This is my first use of this software, and it tells me how long I can go. I guess I have to pay for it. This was our backup plan. This is plan B. Where was it? My thought was, people are going to say, I don't need to do that. But to compete today, you actually must. Am I right or wrong?
I think you're correct. And what I look at is how do you remain relevant, and how do you remain an influencer in the decision making? I mean, there's graphics that I show in class where you have a woman who is, back in the day, and 15, 20 years ago, we had a straight line to her. We would market to her. We would push things to her. And, she's standing here and everything's coming at her. Well, underneath of that is today's consumer, where everything is around them. They have the decision. And the thing is that people are influenced by the smallest of things. Can I see your presence? I enjoy your video? You know what? You're really very transparent. I love the fact that I get an update or a visual update of my car. I appreciate your cleanliness. I love your hours. These are influencing situations. If you don't have a way of communicating that, then you will lose because you will be out influenced. And that's the hardest thing to get back. It's hard to get them to come back to you once they found another place that they love. It's our personal habits. You know, we change gears because we found something that might be better, or it's us. It's us.
You just said something very powerful there, and I want to ask Frank. Probably give you the last word here, Frank. You're doing great things. And not only is your content good, but your production quality is good. And I know you've busted hump to make it like that.
I don't recommend it, actually, but yeah.
I understand. Hire out, virtual assistant, right? Frank, when people come in and say thank you to you for the content that you've given them, what else do they say?
Well, really, it's a connection. It's a different way of connecting. And I've got to remind everybody, direct mail, we're on billboards, we're on bus stops, I do TV, I do radio, we do every form of marketing. My lovely days inside the marketing world, and I love that, although I can get out in the pit and do some wrenches if I have to. Haven't done that for years. When somebody comes in and they have found a blend of pieces, they saw you here, they saw you here, they're connecting the dots, that's a customer gain. That's a specific demo that we're looking for that we can dial in that's been gained. So I hope I answered that, but I don't want people to just say, well, we're just going to go out and make videos and business is going to be great. Conventional marketing is really key. We can't discount it. I definitely agree with what Greg is saying. And if you're out there, tell the story of your business. The video is here. Live streaming is here. You really got to jump on. And if you can't personally do it, that's not my gig, assign somebody in your garage that's really good at, sort of doesn't mind telling a story and get it out there. Create your own network in your business.
This was a fabulous discussion. It went into places I didn't expect, and I know our listeners are going to make this one of their faves, and I hope I can put out both the video and the audio for both of you, and we're running up against the timeline here. This is really funny. There's such a great backstory about us really getting here live today. It took us 45 minutes, and you think technology is easy.
And how many times? How many weeks?
Yeah, this is our third. This is our third
attempt.
This little.
You know what? Hey, we're still. It's good. It's good.
So, Greg, you know what? You got to come back. Both of you got to come back, and we have to take a whole different tack on this. We did a high level now. Maybe we can jump into the weeds for the next time and get our listener some real cool. Tab A, Slot B stuff.
Carmen. I'd like to just remind everybody, because this is what is known as a shameless plug. French Nation at 4 p.m. on Wednesday. Greg Buckley is a contributor.
Yeah.
Greg Buckley is coming to Phoenix.
Yes.
He's in studio, and we are going to have a great time. So,
if you're listening, right, you've got to tune into this one.
No.
I can't wait to get to the studio.
Here's my biggest worry. They both talk. Who's going to actually say?
Well, we got Steve.
I'm going to have to listen and write it down.
Frank's sidekick, Steve. He'll moderate if he can. I don't know. It's going to be a fun time. We are going to have fun.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, thank you, Carmen, as always, buddy.
Thank you, Carmen.
It's great.